all the way in Vancouver would probably appreciate that track, because I'm pretty sure I'm saying that he is a Tears for Fears fan, Sowing the Seeds of Love, which still sounds like it was recorded yesterday, which is a testament to a great production and a great song. Talking to Des, I understand he's been in touch, Kaz.
Yeah, but being Desmond, he doesn't just say hi. I get a whole essay. Come on, Desi. Right, okay. Hello to the Godfather and Kaz. I'm listening in Vancouver at 2 in the morning. I did ring, but your number doesn't go on air. This is Scribbo on Sunday. We don't do the normal stuff. We only do Facebook. We don't do the phone. We don't do the email. You should know that, Desmond. Get a grip. Right, so, he wants us to know how we know him. I don't even know. I've never met him.
We'll come back to all that. No, that's another radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's going to go. I'm going to carry on with Peter Marland. We'll come back to Des, some of the points he's made, especially about a documentary. That's quite interesting. But Peter, leader of the council, I'm interested to know, what do you think are the major problems facing Milton Keynes as we speak today?
Oh, wow.
Obviously there's
easy
a
question.
lot. Well, okay, I'll tell you.
I mean, in fairness, there are two big things. There are three. Children's services, I think, and schools, we can probably park over there for a while. Mm-hmm. But the main one is everybody came to Milton Keynes at the same time in the 1970s and 1980s. We were and have been for a very long time a young city, and then suddenly we are going to have a huge amount of demand, particularly for adult social care, and it's going to go through the roof over the next few years. And the second is, we were built in one model. We were built on grid roads. We can get around the city quite quickly now. But if we carry on growing, and we carry on growing exponentially as we have, the grid roads were built for dispersed employment across the city. But obviously the way the modern world is, everybody wants to be in the city centre, and we will end up basically with gridlock unless we change the way that people get around. So it's about infrastructure, and it's about how we deliver services, particularly to older people.
I don't know, but that's perfect. Look, your answer, as in the infrastructure. I'm seeing it already. I'm lucky that I live on Great Holm, which I call the Watling Street, the old A5, the Berlin Wall, in a way, because it's very difficult to get over at certain times of the day. And I think only my wife said this week that she works in the city centre, as most people do, and one of her friends from work left Newport Pagnell at 8 o'clock and failed to arrive by 9 o'clock. I mean, that's unheard of. And I think we're just about coping and parking as well, but I think I'm right in saying, is it White House that's being expanded next to me up by Wadden? As soon as these places kick in, and on other areas of Milton Keynes, I just don't see how it's going to go, because we haven't got a tube, and for whatever reason, and it's probably part of the problem, we don't get on buses. Actually, I was going to London this week, and I was thinking, how am I going to get there? And I ended up walking, and then my wife just said, why didn't you get a bus? And it just never, and I'm being completely honest here, my mindset, I just didn't even think about getting a bus.
Well, we're also a city, and I've lived here 10 years, and you nearly slip into it of, I'm going to John Lewis, and I'll go to House of Fraser next, and you get back in your car and you drive round. You don't walk down.
You lazy thing.
It's a bit extreme, I think.
There are people that do it, and there are people that go to Escape and then get in their car to come over to John Lewis, and I think it's an interesting question, and it's something the city will have to tackle of basically not becoming like everywhere else, because I don't think we will be ever like everywhere else, but it's that they had it really, really, really good for the past 50 years. And you could park directly outside where you work, and all that sort of stuff. And now you're having to walk 5 minutes. Well, welcome to most places. And that's that sort of, the expectation levels of people are so high. But I think I sit on the V8 of a morning, and it's interesting when I get challenged about some of the things we're doing as a council, when people go, it's Milton Keynes, the grid roads are perfect, don't touch them, we never get congestion, don't put any traffic lights on roundabouts. And it's sort of like, well, I sat in that traffic jam in the morning. Is nobody else sitting in these traffic jams, sort of thing? And there are certain roads, the V6, Watling Street, Child's Way, that do get really clogged up.
But what is the answer? I mean, I can't see where the answer, unless the dual carriageways, perhaps I put one in, proper bus lanes, as in what you get in major cities, and then if people are stuck in traffic jams and there's buses flying past them going in the direction of where they're going, the penny might drop, actually, I'm going to start getting the bus. But at the moment, I just don't see where we're going and how we're going to alleviate that problem. I'd say it's really it's the A5 for me, and I think it's probably the other side of Newport Pagnell when you're coming in from Olney. The sort of four sides of Milton Keynes. It's just trying to get in within it.
There are quite a few things that we can do. For instance, our housing in CMK at the moment, there is next to none of it. So It's about how we, over the next 50 years, probably build out more housing in the city centre, so people of a certain age, sort of between probably 25 and 35, don't need to travel in to work so much. They can walk to work. And actually, a lot of older people, when you've got rid of your kids, when you've got rid of all that, actually there's some quite good evidence now that actually older people want to live in city centres, nice clean city centres as well. They've had their 40 years of living in the suburbs with 2.4 children and a dog and a big garden. So when you sort of reach 65, people want to live in sort of a flat in city centres.
Well, that's
where
a good
they're
point.
next to everything. So it's about how we change people's perceptions. Buses don't quite work in Milton Keynes at the moment because of some...
Never have, have they? Let's face it.
Don't get me started on dial-a-bus.
There are two ways, two reasons for that. Firstly, because we were so car driven, and it was so cheap. But also, after the 1980s and all the buses were obviously put into private ownership, the low density estates don't necessarily have the passenger numbers. So why would you run a bus, say, between Peartree Bridge and somewhere else with low density? But actually, I think as people see the rising prices of things like parking, as people struggle to get into the city centre, people will change to buses. We just have to make sure that there's the right sort of public transport there. And you talk about dial bus, I think 20 years ago, it was probably the wrong system, but now you can order something on your phone, and you go on holiday and you order a taxi to get to the airport, and it doesn't turn up just a taxi for you. There's 6 or 7 people on it, because
that's communal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, because all these sort of route planning and logistics systems, you can buy them for peanuts now. And they're all basically apps on phone. 20 years ago, it was sort of a proper high tech logistical job. And now it can be done quite quickly. So I think there is, in the future, particularly sort of 25-seater minibuses, I think that sort of dial-a-ride will work a lot better.
You mentioned traffic lights on roundabouts. One of our listeners, Chris Hodge, did actually ask about that, about why put traffic lights on roundabouts? What does that achieve?
I remember when I first came to Milton Keynes, sitting in a room with Phyllis Starkey, who was then the MP, and watching this, for somebody who came from... moved directly from Liverpool, this very esoteric argument about whether I think it was the main roundabout, it was Grafton roundabout, with just off where Pets at Home is, and people were actually shouting about whether you should put traffic lights on it, and it to me it was a very odd argument, because I hadn't been in there. Now I understand it. You go to some roundabouts and it's always worked, but roundabouts, unlike anything else, they work as long as there's a traffic flow and gap. Now
people indicate.
We've all been in a situation, I think, where we've sat at a roundabout, particularly the one where you come off near Pure Gym, where you're going towards where they cross, where you get down to Winter Hill, and it's bad because there's no break in traffic to your right. You just can't get on the roundabout. That's the problem with roundabouts, is that they work while there's a traffic flow. They don't work, and we will get literally gridlocked, because if a roundabout backs up to the next roundabout, you will end up with gridlock because it will back up to the next roundabout. You have to allow a pause in traffic and traffic flow, and so that's why we end up putting traffic lights on roundabouts, is when they end up just with too high a flow of traffic that you'd never get on it, particularly from one point, if you didn't put them on.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, let's have a break there. Let's have a bit of music. Very interesting, Peter. Thanks for that. We're going to stay with this sort of infrastructure part of it. I'm very interested in what the future of Netherfield and Bean Hill and basically CMK, which you've sort of touched on, and I want to go back to that. But Rob, you've got another song from some artists from our own area, which is always nice to play. Tell us about it, and then we'll play it.
Absolutely. This is by a band from Milton Keynes called Cane Rising. And the nice thing about it is that normally when you get a new band from Milton Keynes, it's a rock band or an indie band. This is a country band.
Oh,
so,
yes.
So it's well, say country band.
They do both types, country and western.
It's rock and it's nice. It's by they're also in another band called Southside Jimmy's, but it's Jim Price and Jez and Joe Parry and a few other people whose names begin with J. But this is Cane Rising, and it's a song that I actually really like called Riding in Another Man's Car.
benefits every Monday night, 10 o'clock.
Leading the fight, one man fate has made indestructible. His name,
Gary Fitz here.
2 hours of the coolest tunes every Monday night, 10 o'clock.
No, that's a jingle Kenny Everett would have been proud of, I think. That's very
Gary's
good.
show is brilliant.
Yeah, very good, very good. Rob, just to reflect, that was an interesting tune. It sounded more like Dr. Feelgood than country and western, boy.
It's country rock, isn't it? You know,
it's good.
Yeah,
really
it's wonderful.
it.
That was a band called Cane Rising.
Okay, Cane Rising. And the track?
Track called Riding in Another Man's Car.
Excellent, there you go. Get that one. Back with Peter Marland, the leader of the council. We were talking about the infrastructure. I think we all agreed it's not going to cope unless something happens. I mean, that's another council debate, I should imagine, for a long debate on how you get around there. But I'm pleased that, obviously, you're involved in the city and people can see that. But it is a major concern for me. The other one I'm really interested about, I should have read more on it. I've seen it in the papers and perhaps seen it online. And my brother lives on the estate, and I lived on the estate, Netherfield, and I understand Bean Hill. I think I'm right in saying there's millions of pounds in regeneration. I just wonder if you could, again, in a nutshell, what are the plans for Netherfield, and if I'm right, including Bean Hill on it, what's in line?
So we're taking a decision tomorrow, it's Monday,
okay,
about how the big sort of so-called regeneration entity will work, and it's one of the reasons why we brought a director of place into the city, because you need to have someone who understands how this sort of stuff works, because it's a big scheme. We're talking about hundreds of millions of pounds. Right. The reason for it is mainly it would cost in some of these places just as much to bring people's houses up to a livable modern standard as it was to maybe replace some of those houses. But my primary aim and Hannah O'Neill's primary aim, and she lives on Pertree Bridge, and there's 7 priority estates, many of which are around Netherfield, Tinkers Bridge, all those areas. It's about making sure that the communities have the say in what happens to them. So to me, it's about people, place and prosperity. It's not just about what sort of house you live in. It's about the place that you live in. It's about making sure that people have access to skills, people have access to training, people have access to better jobs. Because if you look at other